Hello everyone, my name is Reed. Yes, I'm still filling in for Jake, and today we're going to be reading some malicious compliance stories. Sit back, relax, take a load off, and let's enjoy. Would you just do your freaking job? When I was 19 years old and a fresh high school, or my country's equivalent, graduate, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. The one thing I did know is that I needed money, so I started applying for all kinds of jobs. After a few weeks of writing applications, going to interviews, and waiting nervously for replies, I was hired as a full-time sales assistant at an international company making smartphones, TVs, and other electronic gadgets. Said company was in the process of opening their first official store in my country, and I, as I was hired about 3 months before they were due to open, helped them however I could. I created one-pagers, basically posters that show all the hardware inside a device plus a picture, translated manuals, put security tags on products, etc. Whatever they wanted me to do, I did. Sometimes until late at night, still foolishly thinking that this initiative would maybe be recognized in one shape or another. Alongside me, they hired 4 other people, 3 more sales assistants, and a store manager, all whom were young and ambitious just like me. The grand opening went very well. Business was booming for the first 2 weeks, and everything seemed fine. That's where the problem started. The first thing we realized we didn't have were guidelines on how to handle returns and warranty cases. As the company's electronics had been available online long before the store opened, some people now started bringing in their devices to get them fixed or swapped out, none of which we knew how to handle. This annoyed a lot of customers. Being given the information that only devices bought at our specific store would be handled under warranty only made things worse for us. We were getting abuse on a daily basis that ranged from curse words to death threats. Once, we even had to call security because a customer was threatening us. This stress caused one of my colleagues to quit, understandably. This, as it turned out, was only the tip of the iceberg. Some of the other problems we had included having a break room with no access to fresh water, no fridge, no microwave, and of course, no bathroom. All big no-nos where I live. Resupply came in sporadically at best. Sometimes we were resupplied twice a week, sometimes there was no deliveries for 3 weeks, making it very hard for us to tell our customers when their devices will be arriving. The store manager was so incompetent. He couldn't even finish our schedules 3 days in advance, although giving the schedule 2 weeks in advance is mandatory. One of my colleagues thought, "Freak this," about a month after our grand opening and went on sick leave, which, where I live, basically gives you immunity from getting fired. So now we were 2 men down. The bosses upstairs apparently wanted us to provide tech support over the phone, which, again, none of us were trained to do. We did our best, but only really ended up with more threats in addition to having our official store phone number constantly blocked by these calls. Also, we were expected to take over social media communications as well, meaning we now had to answer questions on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., putting even more strain on our small team. In the end, the manager couldn't deal with the stress anymore and broke down about 2 months after opening. He even sought psychological counseling after quitting. While I was sad to see him go, I thought that now my time had come to prove myself. I took over most of his duties, still only earning about half of what the manager made. Naively, I worked 60 to 70-hour weeks for almost 3 months straight, still thinking that this would somehow pay off. I made sure to tell my bosses how much more I did than we agreed upon in my contract, but they didn't seem to care. That is, until our sale figures dropped. All of a sudden, I had 2 of them come into the store unannounced, basically drag me into the back room and start lecturing me on how badly the store is performing. The conversation went something like this. "So, why would you say the store's sales performance has dropped so much since manager left?" "Well, a lot of customers are unhappy with the way we..." "Our products are very competitive. Why are you still struggling to sell them?" Me, slightly disgruntled. "Well, sir, as I was trying to say, the customers are not happy with our service, and running a store with just 2 employees is almost impossible. If we could hire 2 more assistants, maybe we could focus better on our numbers. The interviews for this position are ongoing. You will have new employees soon, but you were hired for a reason. So would you just do your freaking job?" "Yes, sir." After that meeting, I felt defeated. Doing all this extra work, staying late, taking responsibility for things I had no business taking responsibility for, the threats, the uncertainty, the stress, the sleep deprivation, all for nothing. And that's when it clicked in my head. Freak those guys. They wanted me to do my job? Fine, from now on, I would do exactly what my job description says, nothing more, nothing less. The next day, I came in early, opened the store, everything normal, until the first tech support call came in. I picked up the phone, after listening to what the caller wanted, told them that I was only a sales assistant and therefore not qualified to answer their questions. Hanging up the phone without saying goodbye, a postman came in with some special documents for the store manager, requiring a signature. I said, nope, sorry, not going to sign that, I'm not a manager. After being informed that these were court documents and needed to be signed for immediately, I just shrugged and said, not my problem, just doing my job here, man. Later that day, after my colleague had arrived, we got delivery of new product for the store. The delivery guy handed me the manifest asking for a signature. Again, I declined, stating that I was just doing my job and the manager would have to sign that. After making it clear to him there wasn't a manager on site, he left taking all the new product with him, product which we desperately needed. But I was beyond caring at this point. About 15 minutes later, I got a call from Boss 1 asking me why no one had signed for the delivery. I told him that as there was no manager on site, nobody there was allowed to sign that document. After a few choice words, he hung up the phone and I went back to work, chatting with customers and generally not caring about anything. Half an hour later, Boss 1 and 2 descended onto me. They rushed into the store demanding an explanation for my behavior. I simply replied, I'm just doing my job, sir, just like you asked me to do. What the freak do you mean? Then why has nobody accepted today's delivery or the documents we've sent you? Well, that's the manager's job. I'm not a manager.
Yes, you freaking are. What the heck are you talking about?
No, not only would my pay be pretty poor for all the work I'm doing, my contract clearly states that I am a sales assistant and as such shall only fulfill duties related to that position.
And who the heck is supposed to do the manager's job if not for you?
I don't know, but I would gladly do it if you doubled my salary, of course.
Who the heck do you think you are? We can have you replaced with someone cheaper in a heartbeat.
Okay then, go ahead. I quit effective immediately. Bye. And then I just left. My remaining colleague, upon hearing me quit, also quit immediately, leaving our former bosses wide-eyed with no employees to run their store. I had also taken the liberty of informing the Board of Health and Labor about our working conditions, as well as getting myself legal counseling for some issues related to bonuses not being paid out. The store ended up having to completely shut down for about 2 weeks until they had a skeleton crew back together to run it. The kicker? About a month after I quit, and with my lawsuit for unpaid wages now pending, I got a call from Boss 1 telling me he wanted to accept my offer of doubling my salary to become the store manager. He said no one was willing to take the job now that word got around how awful things are in the store. The following conversation ensued. Me? Frankly, Boss 1, I used his first name here, just to mess with him. I don't much like getting laughed at, so I'm afraid if you want me to come back, you're going to have to quadruple my initial pay.
What? Are you insane? We can't afford that. How are we supposed...
I don't give a freak, Boss 1. I really don't. But I've got an idea. How about you pull your head out of Boss 2's butt and just do your freaking job? Hopefully wherever OP ends up next, they get the respect that they deserve. I mean, clearly they're an awesome employee, and they took a lot of crap before they retaliated. Good job, OP. I know how a library operates, okay? I work in a library, almost done with school to become an actual librarian. Right now, I'm just reference staff. I mainly do shifts at the desk, answering questions, checking out materials, etc. It is very important that if you are scheduled on the desk, you must remain on the desk the entire time, and you must call in backup even if you are just using the bathroom. This is because our cash is in a drawer at the desk along with Wi-Fi hotspots, open computers with patron information, cell phones both lost and staffs, and an array of other very expensive things that people with sticky fingers may walk away with. My library is in a bad part of town. We have a lot of people who steal either books or computer keyboards or even just toys from the kids area. Our cash drawer has upwards of $1,000 in it at any given time. It's a very big deal to pay close attention to your surroundings and not leave the desk unattended for even a moment. Not to mention the library's policy of no patron left unassisted, no matter what. Enter the Big Boss and my malicious compliance. Big Boss is the library director, the very top you can get. She hasn't worked in an actual library in at least 20 years, having been doing the corporate side the whole time. She's a little rusty on policies. When she shows up, we're all supposed to grovel at her feet and obey her every command because she can fire us like that. It's my desk shift. Unfortunately, our aide that does shelving has been out, so all of our shelving carts are full. We've all been chipping in when we aren't on desk, but returns keep coming and there isn't enough time. Big Boss doesn't like this. She says it looks unsightly. She sees me.
Bitter, get some shelving done, she says.
I will, I reply, as soon as I'm off desk.
There's nobody here,
she says, ignoring the people who are very much here.
Stop being lazy and do your job.
I am doing my job, ma'am, I say as nicely as I can. However, I cannot leave the desk unattended due to theft, and if I leave, nobody will be there to assist patrons.
Nobody steals in a library,
Big Boss insists. I open my mouth to argue, but she holds out a hand as if I'm some plebeian that dared to speak to the royalty.
I know how a library operates. You aren't even a librarian, and I've been a librarian, manager, and now the director. I think I can decide what's okay. Now get this shelving done. You're making the branch look bad.
You want me to leave the desk and shelve instead? I ask, wanting to clarify. She scowls.
That's what I said. She snaps. Go!
All right then, I shrug and stand up, walking towards the shelving cart and beginning to sort. I wheel away a card to fiction, ignoring the patron waiting at the desk for help because I have been directed to shelve. And the Big Boss knows how libraries work. I'm shelving for about 15 minutes when my manager comes storming up to me, furious. I never see this dude furious, so I'm bracing myself.
What the heck are you doing? He hisses. You are on desk.
I shrug. Big Boss told me to stop being lazy and shelve, I say. My manager looks confused.
Did you explain that you're on desk?
He asked. I shelve a book. Yep, I say. My manager walks away. I continue shelving, keeping an ear out. I don't hear much, and I finish that cart, so I walk to the shelving area to pick up a new load, and that is when I see it. The miracle. The thing I would have never expected. A line is formed at the desk of about 20 people. They're starting to look impatiently at Big Boss, who is seated behind the desk, frantically trying to figure out the system she hasn't touched in 20 years. My manager makes eye contact with me from where he is standing off to the side, not lifting a finger to help Big Boss. I smile, grab the next cart, and continue to shelve. Hey, she said she knew how a library worked. After she left, my manager confided to me that she said she was going to ensure our branch gets an aide as quickly as humanly possible. He also said he eventually had to step in and take care of the patrons because she struggled for 20 minutes just trying to renew a book. I guess she really didn't know how libraries worked anymore. Sheesh, that woman is a shame to the name Big Boss. I'm kind of disappointed with OP for using that as her name. Nice story nonetheless.
You're pretty good.
Rectify the error? Okay. Client calls in. I work at a bank to complain about a charge of about $70 that should have already been refunded. I put her on hold to review all the relevant transactions and realized that she was in fact already refunded $280 for this, which only cost her $70 in the first place. I then hop back on the line and ask her if she remembers calling half a dozen times and already getting the refunds, to which she starts rambling about how banks steal money and how her balance should be much higher than what it is right now. She then asks me something along the lines of, "So, how are you going to fix this for me?" To which I respond, "Well, you were already refunded way more than you were supposed to get, so I can take the $140 back if you want." And she responds, "Go ahead," like she didn't think I would or something. She hung up while on hold, but since I told her I would be taking the money back, I went ahead and finished my work. 30 minutes later, guess who calls back? and she actually had the nerve to pretend like she didn't know what that debit was. It was me taking the extra refunds back as I said I would. I explained to her that she was already informed why we would do this. I guess at this point she realized it was me again and hung up not too long after. Moral of the story, if you were lucky enough to get a bank error in your favor, shut the heck up about it. To be honest, it seems like a normal person would, actually be quiet about it. Or there might be those moral people out there that are like, oh, this happened on accident, I just wanted to inform you. But who tries to take advantage of a situation that's already in their favor and get more out of it? It's kind of insane. That's all we have for today. If you liked listening, there should be some more stories up here to click. And if you don't mind, why don't you subscribe for more content like this? Stay saucy.